Money isn't real. Doesn't matter. It only seems like it does.
Through training camp, after
See, those are pretty damn good averages. Hi, Alex Himes here, and it's time to get it right. What's up, you cool cats and kittens? Never mind. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the latest episode of Get It Right with Alex Himes. Welcome back. Hope you guys are staying home, washing your hands, and covering your damn mouths while you cough. Shout out to everyone in Lexington who's tuning in. Shout out to everyone who's listening on podcast streaming services or y'all on YouTube. We appreciate it either way. And today, I'm joined by my good friend Nikki from ClutchPoints. Nikki, how's it going, my friend?
Hey, Alex, man. It's going great, man. Thanks for having me.
We know that you're a content provider from ClutchPoints. You have your own show, I Got Next. So, tell us a little bit about your show.
World's kind of going crazy on the podcast game. Everyone's got one. I wanted to do something weird. I wanted to find a way to make podcast content, but bring it live. So we stream it on Facebook Live. We have this podcast setup with, the whole studio, and we bring in highlights to talk about the highlights and different things, to bring on a guest. So it's kind of like a podcast, but it's got these debate and interview vibes. And yeah, we stream it every week on Facebook Live.
Very cool. So I Got Next with Nikki, and how do I pronounce your last name? Goel?
I think it's Goel, but I think most people my entire life have said Goel. So now I say Goel.
How was your show conceived?
I guess, well, we've always wanted to do something that was on live because we have a huge Facebook audience at ClutchPoints. And so that's kind of like one way we can engage with people. But we wanted to do something that would take advantage of trending things like games. So we always base it around the game of the week. And we wanted something that would pull people off their feed when they're scrolling through. So we introduced this format with voting and the highlights and everything. And then the rest is just create something that makes content easy, makes it easy to talk to people, makes it easy to interview them and get interesting takes out of them. And it has to be fun for everybody. So that was kind of the goal of the show.
And getting everyone involved and interested.
We want everyone involved. I mean, you can comment, you can vote. It's all there.
Well, guys, you heard it first from Nikki. Go vote on I Got Next. Come on. It's simple. And it's ClutchPoints. For those of you who don't know who ClutchPoints is, all of those graphics that you've seen done online, similar to my own, that are very nice, very clean, that cover pretty much every sport you could think of, yeah, chances are it's probably ClutchPoints. So,
yeah, man,
we got to jump right into it. And the first thing I want to talk about is the NBA, right?
Yeah.
Well, pretty much all we're going to talk about is the NBA. So to cover it quick and just jump into it, do you anticipate the NBA coming back this year?
I think it's a done deal. I think this season's done. I don't think it's going to come back. I think there's been a lot of if you bought tickets to Coachella or if you bought tickets to any concert or game or whatever, there's this date people keep throwing around October. That's made up. I really don't think that there's any way that you can do this. China is backed out until July. This season is probably over. And if they do find a way to play basketball again this year, even without fans, I think it might set everything back so much that you might as well just end the season and go again.
I agree. I think it's kind of a wash at this point. It's sad because, I mean, we were getting so many different storylines going along. The Lakers and the Clippers rivalry, what was going on with LeBron and AD and here in LA because of their budding connection that was starting to work out the chemistry. What was going on in the East with, Giannis leading the Bucks, the Celtics finally finding their superstar and the new face of New England sports and Tatum, the Raptors somehow proving everyone wrong that they don't necessarily need Kawhi.
Yeah, man.
It's
like
sad.
A movie that we all wanted to see, but then the ending got cut out. It's pretty tragic.
Yeah, and it's I saw this great tweet. It was the coronavirus, what's going on right now is the bad car crash that no one wants to see, but you can't help but look at, and then you finally see it and you have buyer's remorse immediately where you're just man, I shouldn't have looked at that whatsoever.
Yeah, man. We're all on the highway and that shit just crashed and now it's blocking up traffic.
Yeah, the 405's just backed up.
Yeah.
I'm 5 minutes away from home, but realistically it's probably going to take me 3 hours.
Yeah, so ironic because now the streets are pretty clear, but yeah, it's
that's the only good thing to come of this in Los Angeles in particular. For those who don't understand what hell is, it is driving on the 405 at 6 p.m. to 7:30. Actually, let's go 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. That is absolute hell.
There are people who live in this state or in this city they do 3 hours of driving a day because of that road. So yeah,
I'm very thankful. I live across the street from my work, so I can't complain.
Oh yeah, I'm a 10-minute walk. I'm with it.
See,
Yeah,
you get it. You get it.
I don't even own a car. I mean, I'll get one eventually, but I was not ready for that traffic.
Yeah, you don't need it too.
I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't with it.
All right, so if the NBA is not coming back, do you think that this season in particular, Los Angeles and LeBron in particular, were robbed of a title?
Honestly, I'll go with yeah. I'll say yeah, because like I understand that like a lot of people feel strongly that like teams like the Clippers and the Bucks were, you know, they were maybe more talented or more ready than the Lakers, but I do think the Lakers were hitting their stride, and I do think that there's a ceiling with the Lakers when you have like two top 5 players. I definitely think, especially with LeBron, like I know maybe a lot of people think Giannis is the MVP and maybe he deserves the MVP, but I just feel like LeBron was playing at a level that we haven't seen that. I haven't seen this kind of a player since like prime Magic. Like I haven't, like it's just like it's kind of special, and it's just tragic that it might be wasted right now.
I think we were robbed more or less of seeing how their chemistry develops and how far they can go this season, right? As a whole. But I definitely don't think that we were robbed of a title. I think we were robbed of a matchup between the Lakers and Clippers in LA, because I had the Clippers beating the Lakers in 7 games.
Yeah. To be honest, dude, nobody's beating that Clippers team in less than 7, and odds are they're winning in those 7. But
yeah, Lakers in 8.
Lakers in 8. Yeah, that's a possibility too. Yeah.
All right, so since we're talking about that, since we're talking about LeBron and Giannis, who do you think means more to their team respectively? Giannis or LeBron? Your
friend Michael actually made a pretty good argument here. This whole thing about how I actually think that Giannis may have done quite enough to deserve MVP, and maybe he is more valuable to his team. Maybe he is actually, like, maybe they depend on him for everything more than the Lakers might. That's quite possible.
Are you telling me that Michael said that LeBron is more valuable to his team than Giannis, or what did he say?
He was more so saying that like everything that Giannis that Milwaukee does is because of Giannis. Like you could say that about LeBron, but it actually, if you actually remove Giannis out of the Bucks, they can do a lot less than the Lakers could if you removed LeBron. Which is like, you could argue the other way, but I can kind of see how like the wrecking ball that Giannis is. Like that kind of does get taken out.
All right, Michael, you've done it again. Took my take. Giannis is more valuable to his team, hands down, than LeBron James is valuable to the Lakers. And here's one easy argument. You take LeBron and Giannis off their teams respectively, what's left? Anthony Davis on the Los Angeles Lakers with a bunch of great pieces to put around him to space the floor, right? You take Giannis off the Bucks, what do you have? Chris Middleton, the Lopez brothers, Eric Bledsoe, Kyle Korver, and Wes Matthews. Decent team, but
yeah.
But
it's kind
look
of
at the value.
Yeah, the value's there. It's kind of ironic though, because it's like the Lakers when LeBron wasn't on the court this season, they were not that great. The Bucks when Giannis was on the court, they were not that bad. Like, but I agree with you. I think without a doubt, Giannis has probably done more to the overall team. If you look at every metric, you could probably say that Giannis has probably done overall more. My trouble comes is that I think LeBron might be the MVP because I think LeBron is just on another, like, to me personally, I give the MVP to the best player. So I think, like, I understand that they had the best season, that they deserve it and everything, but it's like awkward for me to say that somebody who is not the best player gets MVP.
How is Giannis not the best player compared to LeBron though? That's the argument.
It's interesting. Well, that is the argument. Because, like, I think a lot of people are looking at Giannis and they're kind of scared of him, but I don't think teams are that scared of him. And I feel like there's a few players I would take before Giannis, especially in the playoffs. Like, I would take a Kawhi Leonard before I take a Giannis. Like, you need a guy who can score at more than one level. You need a guy, especially when they're your best player. So I think there's more room to grow for Giannis. I don't think he's there yet.
I agree with you. And I'll put it like this. I think teams and individual players are afraid of Giannis in the regular season, but when it comes to the postseason, you can wear a team down, you can strategize, you can make a name for yourself as a player and his system for stopping a guy or stopping all of his complementary pieces. And because LeBron James has Anthony Davis, it makes it so much harder to stop him. It's not like having Harden and Westbrook on a team. You have a big and you have a small forward who has the court vision like Magic Johnson, like you said. Like, it makes it a lot more difficult for guys to stop one or two. And if you stop one, you have the other guy who can definitely go on. If you stop Giannis on the Bucks, sure, you have a bunch of complementary pieces that can help, but that doesn't mean they're going to be consistent help in a 7-game series. And especially if you can stop all of Giannis, it goes both ways. If you stop Giannis and you have the other guys who are stepping up, then you might win a game like that. If you have a game where you turn all of his other guys off, you let Giannis drop 40, like we were saying before the show, you can let him win like that, but chances are they're probably going to lose in a game where Giannis drops 40 and everyone else is held to like 15 points at most.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's what kind of bothers me about this whole argument of like, if you took him out of the situation, they're worse off, therefore he's more valuable. Because I just look at Giannis and I think, okay, he gets to the first 2 games in a playoff series, he does what he does, right? The team kind of figures him out. And then what does he do next? Like, what does he do after a team counters you, after a team throws these bodies at you? What's the next level for Giannis? I don't think we know yet, but we know
it's his athleticism. That's the thing. Giannis's athleticism allows him to kind of, it allows him to be subjected to the arguments of, well, you can't really do much other than make him a jump shooter, because no matter what you do, athletically speaking, he is still going to be able to get a couple dunks per game. He's still going to be able to get a lot of fouls because he has that new LeBron James, James Harden style of drawing fouls every time in every game, right? That's what separates him from me. And just like how you were saying, like you get him for the first 2 games, you get an auto win, right? Like that's the problem for me. The Bucks without him don't have that auto win. So I think he's the difference maker in a series, right? For games 1 through 6, getting you the difference in the wins, whether it's getting 18 points and 22 rebounds or 40 points and 13 rebounds, 5 assists and 2 blocks, right? He's that guy. But the problem on the converse is if you stop him or his complementary pieces, then the Bucks actually have a problem. And you can't count on guys like the Lopez brothers, Wes Matthews, Eric Bledsoe, Dante DiVincenzo at this point to be the guys to step up and be the third or second, consistent 1A option, because let's face it, they're not.
Yeah, man. I think at the end of the day, this is a make or miss league. Like, and you need to look at teams and think, are these guys who are going to hit shots in the playoffs? I think anybody who thinks, yes, the Bucks are that team, I don't know if there's proof for that just yet. That's why you look at the guys like the Lakers and Clippers, you think, yeah, maybe the regular season, they're not as popping, but there's reason to believe that in the playoffs they will, because they've been there before. They have players who won championships like that before.
And there's evidence to point to the converse for the Bucks. I mean, look at last season. They won the first 2 games against the Raptors, and what the Raptors do? They went on a 4-game tear, beat them, and then went to the finals.
That's the issue with Giannis.
Down the road.
He can't answer the question, what's next? Once you take away his first option, like what, there is nothing after that. That's why I'm kind of like, I know he's the MVP. I get he had the best season, but like, that's why it bothers me. It's like, we are blatantly giving it to somebody who can get phased out by game 3 in a series. We're giving it to somebody who, like, against the Lakers, he was the 3rd best player on the court. We're giving it to somebody who's just like, I believe it. I believe Giannis will be the best player in this league and for years to come, and he's got the potential to be better than LeBron one day. He really does. But to say that he's there now, it kind of does get to me sometimes.
To try and be an impartial person at this point, I got to admit, it's the regular season MVP as opposed to the postseason MVP. Otherwise, I would agree with you entirely. The one time I will say that what you're saying definitely held me was the year that James Harden won MVP and LeBron James averaged career highs at that time, right? Career highs in career low minutes, right? I think it was assists and rebounds that he averaged in career highs with like 27, 28 points per game in career low minutes at that point in his career. And albeit on a Cleveland squad that very much reminisced the, the 07 squad that played against the Pistons, right? It was very reminiscent of that, but let's be real, it was still that ridiculous of a year for a guy that aged, that far into his career, where James Harden, you can jack up 36 points per game, but come on, man. It's in a Mike D'Antoni system where you have the green light, and albeit you are an amazing scorer and you're going to get 13 free throws a game, but LeBron, look at what LeBron's doing. Like, there's no disrespect to you, but this dude is doing that and then some in a lot of different areas, having career best numbers in career low minutes, like in 14 years into the league.
Yeah, man. They stopped giving the MVP to the person who deserved it a while ago. And I think that was the year that just kind of like reminded people that LeBron is still the best player in the league. At least at that time he was. And it's amazing what happens when your team wins over 60 games. It's amazing. It's amazing what that does to your MVP odds, to your title odds. Like just winning regular season games can really form people's opinions. And I think that's what happened. Although if you ask me, I'm a huge James Harden fan, so I do think he kind of deserved it because I went along with the standards of everybody. I was like, okay, we're talking about the season, right? And at that time, I got used to LeBron. I got used to LeBron carry. I got used to his style of play. I got used to his winning. What James Harden did that year is I hadn't seen ever. So that's
none of us have, to be fair.
Yeah, to be fair, like I mean, he's already caught up with MJ in terms of like 60-point, like something. Like he's like got the most 60-point triple doubles. Like he is somewhat different for sure.
I will point out that the year that they did what you had mentioned with the whole stopping giving the MVP to the best player. I mean, one could make an argument the year that Steve Nash won and Kobe should have won, or I will go back to 2011 when Derrick Rose won. When we all know that LeBron James should have. I mean, didn't like it because he was on the Heat, but I will give him the full credit at that point.
How many people can you say were the best player in the world for over a decade? Like that's how many years you can argue.
Larry Bird for like 8 years. 8 years.
Sure.
8 years.
Bill Russell
8 years.
Probably first. Yeah.
Bill. If they only gave MVPs in the season at that point.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Bill would have had the most in for sure. I mean, Bill's got a few untouchable things for sure.
Oh my God. There's a reason why he's the Finals MVP namesake.
He's the Celtic GOAT. He just is.
I said to Michael that Bill Russell is the face of the Boston Celtics, not Larry Bird. And I love Larry Bird. That's no disrespect. But Bill Russell, what he did, not just as a player on the court, but what he did for basketball as a whole, for society as a whole, and also race divisions as a whole, what was going on in terms of racial separation. He set a standard. He made things happen and adjusted not just our view of the basketball league, but also our view as a society as a whole. And that should not be neglected. Just because it was back in the 50s and 60s does not mean it's forgotten by any means.
No, it's dead ass. Like wherever you think Larry Bird went, Bill Russell paved that path. And if you look at the Celtics, like the one claim to fame they really have is, no one's got as many NBA titles as us. And 2/3 of the reason is because of Bill Russell. So like it's kind of like, to me, I think LeBron's a better player than MJ, but I think MJ is kind of like the GOAT. Like he earned the GOAT status. He was the original. So I think that's kind of what Bill Russell is. He's kind of like the GOAT for the Celtics, and that's the status he deserves.
I'm going to say one word to that, and that is false on your LeBron being better than Jordan. But with that, I'll say, who is the biggest threat to the Milwaukee Bucks in the East, in your opinion?
The biggest? I don't know if there's a biggest. I think the thing about the Bucks is I think the biggest threat will be whoever gets them last. Whoever can get the Bucks in the conference finals after they've already gone through 2, probably 1.5 tough rounds. Because if you look at the top 6 in the East, they're all equipped for the Bucks. Miami went out and got Iggy and Crowder for a reason. They know what kind of wing players they need to deal with the guy with like Giannis, to deal with this Bucks team. Like the Sixers, sure, they look like they lost more identity somehow. But when that team's healthy, I'm even looking at them and thinking, like, those guys in that locker room can believe they can beat the Bucks. They can believe it.
I'm shaking my head for a reason.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the Sixers, obviously, whatever. But like, I obviously, and this is what I'll say. I agree with Candace Parker here. When she actually picked the Celtics to come out of the East, I genuinely see that. I genuinely see the Celtics being able to do it. There's nobody on the Bucks, on the Sixers, on the Heat, who's quite like Jason Tatum. And Jaylen Brown also legit became a star, like an all-star caliber player with a developed offensive game. Like Jaylen Brown reminds me, Kawhi Leonard came into the league, this defensive rebounding force, and he developed this kind of like the mid-range game, the handles, the refinement. And Jaylen Brown is starting to show some of that. So, I hear
Celtics.
Those are the top 3.
I hear Celtics.
I think Celtics and Heat are probably the biggest.
All right, so I'll say this. I'm going to throw the Raptors in there just because of what they've done. And Siakam, Kyle Lowry, and they're the defending champs, and the way they played, they are really earning the title of being the legitimate defending champs with their play. They play
more like champions than anybody in the league.
They do.
They actually do.
But I will say, between the Raptors and the Celtics. The Celtics, to me, have the advantage. And I think that a series against the Bucks goes 50-50 against the Celtics. That's the thing.
I'd agree with you.
The
I
Celtics,
actually 100% agree.
the Celtics are so well set up in terms of the small ball style lineup that they run, being able to play positionless basketball to a major degree. When they start Daniel Tice, that means they're going to have the ability to shoot the three from all 5 positions. When they run Enes Kanter, that means they can guard a big down low pretty easily and get at least a mild jump shot from him. They are set up. The only detriment the Celtics have is their bench and their inability to stop scoring guards, which I've complained about so many times. They let 144 points go within a 4-game stretch from Russell Westbrook, Donovan Mitchell, Colin Sexton, and Karis LeVert, which I had to cover at work, and that was not fun. But
Yeah.
the Celtics have the most universally set up squad to beat the Bucks. And the one thing that I always point out to people is this argument. Between the two, who would you rather have in clutch time? Giannis or Jason Tatum?
Oh, give me Jason Tatum.
And the argument says enough because the series is going to go 7 games, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I could see that. I could definitely see that. The Celtics this year seemed like they got everything they were missing when they had Kyrie. They not only had players who came in and felt more comfortable on their roles, they also had players who they've been developing who really reached a new level this year. Like a level that like made like not only an all-star starter, but also like multiple all-stars. Like, you know, they've got they developed in a way that like you didn't think was gonna happen while Kyrie was there.
Yep.
And now with Kemba, you got this leader who's willing to give the rock up to Tatum and do everything else that they need. Like, yeah, they're dangerous. I can't say the Bucks have anybody like Kemba. I can't say they have anybody like Jaylen Brown, and I can't say they have anybody quite like Jason Tatum.
They don't.
They just don't. So yeah, I mean, honestly, personally, I would take the Celtics over the Bucks, but I know that series going to 7 for sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to Get It Right with Alex Himes. Today, I'm joined by Nikki Goel from ClutchPoints, host of I Got Next, and a guy who just picked the Celtics to win against the Milwaukee Bucks as a biggest threat to them in the Eastern Conference. So, of course, he's now an official friend of the show. Nikki, thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, for sure. But I will say this again: if the Celtics don't face them in the conference finals, if let's say the Celtics face them in the second finals, then I might take the Bucks. I really think you have to wear this Bucks team out, and whoever gets them in the third round is really going to kick their ass.
I definitely think the Eastern Conference Finals is the battleground. I agree with that.
Right?
All right, so now we got to jump to our quick debate segment. Now, to you, who is the best Laker of all time?
I thought about this. You did send me this question. I feel like the obvious answer. And then I was really sitting on it, and I'm like, it's obvious for a reason. I actually do genuinely believe it is Kobe Bryant is the greatest Laker of all time. If you look at the Lakers, they've never had anybody stay with that franchise for more than 14 seasons, and Kobe did it for 20. I also think about it like, you know, there's this whole, I know you're going to ask about this later, and I think it's kind of incorporated to now, this recent discussion, Stephen A. Smith, of course, stirring the pot, talking about how Tim Duncan had a better career than Kobe Bryant. And I thought about that, and I'm like, that might be true, but I also think that, you know, Kobe was the best player in the world for like 5 years. Like, you could say that about Tim Duncan for maybe 1.5. Like, you could say that about other people other than like LeBron and Jordan for very few years. Like, that's not easy. Magic was obviously up there too, but there was something about Kobe that really brought forward the Laker brand.
I think that Kobe also represented them, the best player in the world for 7 years. And I would even go even further and say the fact that he stayed there for 20 seasons, and compared to what Tim Duncan had consistency, and that being a head coach, a lot of the guys that he grew up playing around stayed with him the entire time. Kobe had so many different players, so many different coaches at one point in his Laker career, and ended up being a guy part of a three-peat who played with Shaq, then a member of the redemption team, a guy who brought back the revival of the Celtic-Laker rivalry, the mystique of it. Like, there's something to be said that goes with it, and just his career in its entirety, the way he went out. Like, to me, he is the face synonymous with the Lakers now. And of course, we can make that argument saying, you know, it's the new age generation, it's what's going on, and also the fact that he recently passed, unfortunately. But I think it all goes into this pot that says 100%, as soon as he retired, he was the face synonymous with the Lakers.
I think the thing that knocked the thing that people knocked on Kobe was like, it was the stuff that Shaq used to talk about. It was the stuff like, oh, Kobe can shoot us out of games. Kobe is the kind of guy that coaches want to shoot because he's going to shoot it in front of 2 or 3 kinds of players. But like, I think about it as like, dude, Kobe's the only kind of player at that time who like, he could take those shots. He could play his game because he understood that, yeah, you're going to throw 2 or 3 people at me, but I'm still going to take this shot because I know I can make it. Like, I know if you're going to play my game and if I play my game, yeah, sure, it's going to cost me some series in my career, but it also led to 5 rings. I don't think Shaq wins those 3 without Kobe exactly. I think
I agree.
I think he definitely was the kind of player who can an entire team had to play around and put resources toward because he knew that was by design. Like I could take that on and overall it would lead to winning. I don't think like guys like Tim Duncan could have said that. I don't think like a team totally game plan around Tim Duncan like they did versus Kobe. I mean, against Shaq, yeah, teams had to game plan too, but you know.
I agree. All right, so quick, we're going to do 3 questions real quick. All right, first one. Who is the best Celtic of all time?
Bill Russell.
Thank God.
Sure.
Michael, told you in both of these answers, we had a debate over best Laker, best Celtic. Guys, synonymous with it. I said Kobe and Bill Russell.
Yeah, I mean Larry Bird's probably the better player, but like I mean Bill Russell in terms of like the GOAT, like Celtic, like the guy who like like I would say Sam. My favorite Celtic is Havlicek because he was 2-sport player drafted by the Cleveland Browns. That's the guy who I think is my Celtic GOAT because I'm not a huge Celtics fan, but
my mom still has her Havlicek jersey from the days back and going to see them play in the old Garden.
It's a classic. He's a
Johnny Havlicek. Havlicek steals the ball.
Mr. Honda.
Oh my God. All right. So next one, 95-96 Bulls or 2015-2016 Warriors. Which was the better squad?
Give me the 95-96 Bulls. The issue, well, to be honest with you, I'm not scared of the 2015-2016 Warriors. My Cavs beat that team. Like I'm not tripping over for this whole thing about like how like Steph and Clay, like I don't even know who in whose mind put it that duo was on the level of LeBron and Kyrie. Like I don't even know why that was even in the same question. Like they were such a great team, 73 wins and all that. Sure, it's just another testament to what the regular season really means. It's a warm up.
And that's what everyone thinks of. They think of the regular season, the numbers, and that's the problem. They don't go with the eye test these days like Chuck and all these guys on NBA on TNT say. It's the eye test, not just numbers. You can be a stat guy sitting in your room eating donuts trying to figure out all the stats like they always point out, but at the end of the day, the eye test still has value.
Exactly. No, dude, the craziest part is I am a stat guy. Like I'm a Houston Rockets fan. I actually genuinely believe the new meta of the NBA makes a lot of sense and that it's good sense to shoot threes. But even I admit that those 95, 96 Bulls, I don't think they're afraid of those Warriors. I don't think anyone can guard MJ. I don't think Scottie Pippen would lose value. Maybe they'd have issues down in the depth, but like it's hard for me to take Steph and Clay over Scottie and MJ. Like that's not even a conversation.
No, not at all.
If we're talking 2016, 2017 Warriors, I might have to change my answer. You're adding an arguably a top 10 player all time, arguably, to that team. Like that's especially with like the way the game has become, the way that people have realized what the 3-point line really does, and a team that plays around it better than anybody ever. I would actually have to take the KD Warriors over Jordan's Bulls at that point. Yeah.
All right, I have 3 reasons why they wouldn't win that series.
This is interesting, yeah.
All right, Dennis Rodman, rebounding extraordinaire, and also would lock down Kevin Durant to a major degree. 2, give me Jordan, Scottie Pippen, and the rest of that Bulls defense, and that Warriors team will have a lot of issues, and on the offensive side of the ball, none of them can match up with Jordan and Pippen. No question about it. They cannot match up with them defensively. And then the winning coach, Phil Jackson, over Steve Kerr. 3 reasons.
Hey man, actually, I dead ass agree with number 3. I think Steve Kerr, like, imagine you become a coach and like you're handed this. Like, we need to put Steve Kerr's coaching career in perspective a little bit. But like, also, I don't know. Is there anything in the history of the game that has proven that Dennis Rodman can defend Kevin Durant? Is that actually something that we can prove? Like, I don't know.
All the evidence from the 95-96 Bulls.
I guess
from the three-peat.
But they never saw a guy like KD. Those Bulls never saw anybody better than Karl Malone. Like those guys never. I mean Ewing, but like Dennis Reggie,
Rodman though.
Yeah, no, hey man, like I could, and you combine that with the fact that also you got Scotty and MJ, but I think the Warriors with KD were one of the better defensive teams too, and I offensively like, I think KD would like to take a one-on-one versus Dennis Rodman.
Trust me, that dude is going to get pushed around, bullied. It doesn't matter if Dennis has to clothesline him like Raja Bell on Kobe. It doesn't matter if he has to throw him into the stands.
For sure.
Kevin Durant, the problem is he's a twig, he's a toothpick, and Dennis Rodman is an angry pit bull ready to strike.
Hey, man, that's facts. But I also remember watching the Cavs lose to those Warriors. And I remember the most frustrating thing in 2017 watching this was like, we're actually playing decent defense here for a second. Like there were times when the Warriors would dead ass win possessions, win games with KD taking contested threes, taking hard shots.
That's an auto win though. Admittedly, you had to have a better defensive team overall. Like they had good defensive players, but they didn't have a great defensive team and identity overall.
Which the Bulls were. That's fair. I think this just goes back to just why the game became what it was. I think the 3-point line was the most significant thing that ever happened to basketball. I think something that spreads the defense, increases your offensive rebounding, gets you more points per possession. It's more unguardable. Like the step back jumper is like probably, other than the sky hook, is the most unguardable shot ever, and it gets you 3 points. Like it's just like, I think playing toward that would give the Warriors the edge to me. But those Bulls shot over 40% from three. Yep. I don't deny that those Bulls could adjust.
All right. So now the final question. This is the biggest question of them all. You've now dealt with Michael. You've now dealt with myself.
Right.
Who is the better debater?
Let me tell you this about Michael. I actually really enjoyed our debate. I enjoyed our entire podcast. It was probably one of my favorites. The cool thing about Michael is I think his perspective was very different. I think he did like kind of have an interesting look on some things. I don't know if I'm in a position to say who's better or not, but I will say that I appreciated different things from both of you. You and I agreed more, so I think I have to say you, right? But like,
you can say that my points. We may have had agreements on things, but I had certain points that may have been different. So you can claim that too. I
also think low key talking to you and Michael, that you and Michael are more similar than you think. It's good content to disagree with each other, and you guys are used to doing that for the show.
That's literally all we do.
It's all you do. But I think if you guys had a drink and another slow down, you guys might actually find a lot of similarities.
No, that'll never happen. Even when we drink, we're still debating.
It's because you're a Celtics fan. He's a Lakers fan.
That's literally, I'm telling you down to a T. If I wasn't a Celtics fan, even if I were a Clipper fan, he would agree with me more. But because I have the green and white jerseys hanging around, I am probably his only friend that's a legitimate Celtics fan and a diehard one, and he just is so confused by everything.
Hey man, I respect it, man. I respect both teams. I can't root for the Celtics, but at least I respect the history. And yeah, man, I had a really good time debating both of you, talking to both of you. I think I disagreed with both of you on some things, and there are things I learned in both cases. So I don't know, man. That's hard. I can't choose. No way.
And not to mention our previous talk before the show. Like, people are going to see that. You guys are going to get a chance to see what we talked about before the show, which was more discussion-based, Joe Rogan style, just talking about basketball and, for lack of a better term, shooting the hoops.
Yeah. That's all right, but I'll say this. I think you got some more humorous wit than your boy Michael. I'll give you that.
There we go. I'll take that. I'll take that.
I'll give you one edge.
That's the thing. I try to have a nice balance between actual facts and keeping it light and fresh with quick wittiness and quick banter to come back and forth with takes.
Yeah.
You got to spice it up a little bit. There's nothing good about placid wood. You got to have some fun.
You gotta have fun if you want the viewers to have fun too.
Exactly. So shout out to all the viewers and all the people who are tuning into this podcast right now. Everyone who's on YouTube, everyone who's listening via podcast streaming services, and also everyone listening in on WLXU 93.9 FM Radio Lex. And shout out to everyone in Lexington, my UK fam. Guys, this has been the latest episode of Get It Right with Alex Himes. Thank you again to my co-host or guest on this program, Nikki Goel. Thank you again, my friend.
Absolutely, man. Great show. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. Also, give them your social tags. I want everyone to know where to find you.
Yeah, man. Follow me at Nikki Go Left. And you can follow me. You can follow Clutch Points at Clutch Points. Come see I Got Next. We'll have a next episode next week.
There we go, guys. Go catch I Got Next on Clutch Points. You can catch it live on Facebook Live, as Nikki mentioned earlier in the show. And also, please go check out Clutch Points. If you like this type of graphics that I put out, trust me, you like the graphics that they're putting out. So please go give them a check, a like, a follow, all of it. And as usual, guys, go check me out right now at HimesLA on all social media. That's where you can find me. Like and subscribe on YouTube at Alex Himes. And also check us out on all podcast streaming services. This has been the latest Get It Right. We'll catch you next week.
Money isn't real. Doesn't matter. It only seems like it does.
Through training camp, out to see.
Those are pretty damn good averages. Hi, Alex Himes here, and it's time to get it right.